Okay, you said you're flying out today, so this story is
Yes,
major interest to you or anybody who takes this, guys, really, right?
it's either of interest or I don't want to hear it today, but I don't think I have a choice. So the Wall Street Journal has a new report saying pilots and flight attendants may be at a higher risk of breathing toxic fumes on board, resulting in possible brain and nerve damage. Now, get this, since 2019, airlines have filed thousands of reports with the FAA citing toxic air leaks from engine systems that push unfiltered air into the cabin. So this has been going on for a while now.
Yeah, to help us break down these findings, we're joined now by Daniel Bubb, a former airline pilot. Daniel, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. This report mentions some flight attendants sort of having traumatic brain injuries and permanent nerve damage from breathing these fumes. From your experience, did you see any of the pilots or crew members on your flights experiencing anything like this?
Okay, good morning. Thank you for having me. I haven't personally witnessed it. However, as a pilot, as a passenger, I have smelled some of those fumes, particularly when the air comes off the compressor. We call it a bleed system, and it brings the air into the cabin and into the cockpit. And sometimes what can happen is if you have oil leaks, if you have hydraulic leaks, you can smell those fumes coming through that system. And that's what can make people feel nauseous if they're exposed to it over time, because a lot of chemicals can make people really, really sick. Some even causing nerve damage. And we've even seen links to cancer as well. So this is something that airlines are going to have to figure out. Now, they've done it with the 787. They have a different air bypass system with that, so you don't smell the fumes or anything. But the older planes, like the 737s or the Airbus A320, for example, are more notorious for having those type of fumes that people can smell.
So you just answered my next question, which are some of the planes that are having these issues more than others. One thing, they said these reports have been coming in since 2019. We're just now hearing about it. An article was written up, or at least the public at large. Why do you think it's taken this much time for this issue to get a conversation going, getting attention?
Sure. Sometimes it takes investigations quite a while to really get going. Um, Honestly, other things too is this is going to be a major expense for Boeing. It could be a major expense for airlines to have to go back and fix a system or find a different filtration system that they can use. So sometimes it takes a while for these investigations to fully take place, for the FAA and other agencies to make decisions on them. Um, but one of the challenges that I see with this is that it could be expensive to fix this system, and so we'll have to see what airlines do, and we'll have to see how the FAA responds to that.
Now, airlines and manufacturers say cabin air meets safety standards, but what you're saying from direct experience seems contrary to that. How safe are these chemicals in the event of a cabin fire or an emergency? Can you explain what happens in those scenarios and how they affect both the crew and the passengers?
Sure. I don't think they are safe. There are lots of chemicals used in the manufacturing of airplanes. And when people are exposed to that, for example, like a cabin fire, that can have adverse health effects on them. That's why they always tell everybody in the event of a fire, stay low, get to the ground, stay low where you have more of the oxygen, and follow flight attendant procedures. Because, like I said, there are lots of chemicals that are used in manufacturing different parts of these planes, and particularly when people are exposed to them, for example, like an aircraft fire, it can create obviously a very hazardous situation, particularly to their health, if they breathe in a lot of that smoke, if they breathe in a lot of those fumes. Obviously, you want to get to a place where you have more oxygen, where there's more space, where you're not exposed to these things. So that's why it's really, really important, especially during an aircraft fire, to follow flight attendants' instructions to a T. They know exactly what to do, and they will tell you what to do.
Is this a situation where you would like to see some action from regulators to force the airlines to change these systems?
I would, because we obviously want to make air travel safe for the public. And for the most part, it is. I mean, there are HEPA filters in these aircraft, and they do rotate. So that clears out a lot of the bad air. So, for example, if you have like a virus, anything of that nature, HEPA filters usually catch about 95% of that. So it's pretty clean air. It's just when you have the leaks, which sometimes can be very hard to detect, or worst case scenario, you have an aircraft fire. But yes, I would like to see greater regulation. I would like to see greater transparency between the airlines and the FAA on this. And let's make it a public health initiative. to really make air travel safer for the public.
You know, you said you're a former commercial pilot. You
Mm-hmm.
can answer this as much or as little as you like. I know there's a lot of stress right now for anyone working in the airlines, from stewardesses, flight attendants, pilots.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a particular reason you chose to change course and career?
I wanted to become a university professor, and I've been doing that now for 23 years. And I get to teach really cool aviation courses, aviation history, aviation industry with my students. At the end of the course, we go over to the local airport here, Reed International Airport here in Las Vegas, and we get to ride on buses around the airfield, and my students get to see how airports work and what it's all about. So that was really my impetus behind switching careers.
Yeah, I love that. And also, guys, did you see the light in his face when he answered that?
Yeah.
You're going towards what's making you happy. So congratulations, sir.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us.